Happy snowy Friday to you. Glad you're with us. My name is Ashley Jones. I'm the Managing Director of Community Programs here at the Venture Center. And today we've got a great Lift the Rock for you. We're going to be talking to Stacy Hurst, who is the Secretary of the Arkansas Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism. We also have Samuel Ellis, who is the owner of Rocktown River Outfitters. And for those that may not be familiar with this program, I just wanted to give a brief overview of who the Venture Center is and what this program is all about. So the Venture Center is a nonprofit 501c3. And we are devoted to helping entrepreneurship, and we do that through programs like this and several others, as well as accelerators and pre-accelerators, all to drive interest and inspire and inform entrepreneurs. So just wanted to remind everybody that that's what the Venture Center is about, and you can attend any of our programs. They're free, open to the public. And Lift the Rock is specifically designed, as I mentioned, to inform and inspire. So we bring on someone in the economic development arena to talk about the resources they have, things going on in that space, as well as share the story of a local entrepreneur. So you're going to get both worlds today. We've got, like I said, Stacy Hurst and Samuel Ellis with us. Before we get into that talk, want to thank our sponsors. They are continuously supporting us in all of our programs, and we couldn't do this without them. We've got Frost Accounting, Simmons Bank, the Little Rock Regional Chamber, Wright Lindsay Jennings, Central Arkansas Water, and Entergy. So we are very appreciative to those businesses, and thank you for their support. Also wanted to remind everybody about some programs that we've got coming up. So next week we have two programs. One is a VC workshop on business travel. And so we're going to have some subject matter experts in that space, some legal, some travel experts to talk about what that looks like in the future, what business travel will look like, and some guidance as it relates to that as an employer. That will be February 24th from noon to 1. We also, on February 26th, this will be our second installment of our VC Health, which is a new series that we've launched. It's a 12-part mental health series that focuses on mental health and entrepreneurship. And so the next one, as I mentioned, February 26th from noon to 1, we're going to take a look. We're calling it a toolkit for employers. So we're going to go through, tips and tricks and tools, resources, things you need to know with instances in the workplace as it relates to mental health, how to approach conversations, signs to look for, that sort of thing, and really continue that conversation as it relates to mental health. The one after that's going to focus on partners, spouses, relationships, children. And so we take a deep dive into mental health and entrepreneurship as it relates to different topics in that. So we encourage you to join us for that and several other workshops that we've got planned out in March. And so with that, I want to give Secretary Hurst as well as Samuel a brief moment to give an introduction, and then we'll roll right into presentation. Secretary Hurst will present first, talk about the Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism. We'll save some room for questions. And then Samuel will talk to us about his business and his entrepreneurial journey. So first, I would like for you guys to give a brief introduction.
Hey, it's Stacy Hurst here, and I am the Secretary of the Arkansas Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism. And I'm happy today to talk to you all about a little bit about our work and how we anticipate moving forward.
And my name is Samuel Ellis, and I am the owner of Rocktown River Outfitters, a business that I started in the outdoor industry and outdoor recreation here in the natural state. It has been a long ride since I started this company, getting people out on the water to where we are today. And so I will be sharing my story with you, my good days, my bad days, and everything in between.
Awesome. Thank you both for being here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started with Stacy. Just give me one moment. Okay.
Great. So I wanted to give you all a little bit of a historic perspective on how the Arkansas Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism was created. And as you all may know, there was a Arkansas Department of Parks and Tourism. There was a Department of Arkansas Heritage. And under transformation, those two departments merged. If we could go to the next slide.
Technical difficulties.
Of course.
There we go.
So this slide will illustrate how prior to transformation, the 42 old Arkansas cabinet level agencies, all of those individuals that were appointed to lead those cabinet level agencies reported to the governor. So as you can see, it's a rather unwieldy organizational structure. And in addition to these 42 cabinet level agencies, there are probably another couple of hundred sort of independent commissions that were essentially directly reporting to the governor's office as well. So the governor set about a thorough review of the cabinet and the organizational structure of the executive branch. It was a very long process. It was an effort that involved public servants that served in government, but also the private sector and leadership there. And it took a long, hard look at the structure of government and made recommendations to the governor. Those went to the legislature, and in 2019, the legislature passed the Transformation Act that created the 15 cabinet level agencies. We have that next slide. These are the 15 agencies that now represent the cabinet under Governor Asa Hutchinson. And there's a secretary that was appointed to lead those cabinet level agencies. The Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism was the merger of Arkansas State Parks, the Department of Arkansas Heritage, and the Department of Arkansas Tourism. In addition to that, the Capital Zoning District Commission is a part of this new department, as well as Keep Arkansas Beautiful. So when transformation was complete, it created this new organizational structure within the Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism. And this collection of agencies I describe really as the most outward-facing agency of government. Everything we do really is geared toward the public and visitors, increasing visitation, telling the story of Arkansas, generating economic growth across the state through things like our Main Street program, our historic preservation program. And of course, we have 52 well-loved state parks, which I'll talk a little bit about right now. I know that most of you all are familiar with our state parks. We have one of the best systems in the country, truly. It has been supported very well over the years, not just by the public, but by executive leadership in the state of Arkansas and the legislative branch. There are 52 state parks. And when I was appointed to my position, although I visited a lot of state parks, I realized how many I had not been to. So I would encourage all of you all to visit all of these Arkansas state parks. They are true treasures. As you can see, they are scattered across the state of Arkansas. I would like to point out the very important economic impact that your state parks offer the state of Arkansas. This slide illustrating 8.5 million visitors annually is actually probably a little out of date, because during the pandemic, we have seen a huge increase in visitation to both our day use, but also our overnight use. So we'll update that as numbers become available. Also important to know is that the Arkansas State Parks generate an economic impact of $1 billion in the state of Arkansas. In some counties, they are one of the highest employers, and they are certainly one of the biggest contributors to local economies. This is just some interesting information that I thought you all might want to know. State Parks has over 200 cabins, 1,700 campsites. Camping is very popular in the state of Arkansas. We have 4 lodges. They are all wonderful. I would encourage you all to visit them. A new thing that we have is called a camper cabin, and it's a cabin where you come in and bring your own linens, and you have to use the shared restroom that is nearby. They're very popular, hold about 4 people, and one of our most popular assets right now. We have 8 restaurants. Next slide. There we go. You all know we have now the oversight of War Memorial Stadium. We've also got 45 gift shops. I find it really interesting that we have a public airport that sits atop Petit Jean Mountain. We've got horse camps, a firing range, arboretums. We've got a music auditorium up at the Ozark Folk Center. Of course, we've got the only public diamond mine that we know of, and it is a very popular state park, the Crater of Diamonds State Park. We've got marinas that are great economic generators across the state of Arkansas. Of course, swimming beaches. There are museums within state parks. We've got national historic landmarks. All of these assets are publicly available and protected by your state park system. As it regards Arkansas tourism and the Division of Tourism, this is a agency of government that really came to life in the 70s. And when a group of individuals, Shelby Woods and Wayne Woods, recognized that tourism was really not an industry in Arkansas. And so they really started the movement to create an economic sector of tourism. Today, it has a $7.4 billion economic impact, and it is the second largest economic sector in the state of Arkansas. Prior to this year, our 2% tourism tax collection has increased every year except for the 2009 economic downturn. So for the past 10 years, we've seen increases in collections of that 2% tourism tax, and that's applied to lodging and tourism attractions. So now this year is going to be different. We're going to have, right now we're at about a 25% reduction over the prior year, but that's actually less than we anticipated. And we feel like we are very well positioned to rebound because of our natural assets in the state of Arkansas. As well, we anticipate continuing to draw people, not just from throughout our budding states, but even people who begin to travel internationally again. Conventions, of course, will be slow to recover, and that will really hurt the collections, but we're even optimistic about conventions, hopefully within maybe early or late 21, maybe early 22. As it regards heritage, we have 4 resource agencies: the Arkansas Arts Council, Arkansas Historic Preservation, the Natural Heritage Commission, and the State Archives. In our museums, 3 of those are in Little Rock: Historic Arkansas, Mosaic Templars, the Old State House, and we have the Delta Cultural Center, which is over in Helena. I wanted to tell you all that we have something that is coming up, Governor's Conference on Tourism, March 2nd and 3rd. We'll be talking about not just the work of travel, the travel industry in Arkansas, but also how we plan to recover and really empower people who are in the industry to be well positioned to make a strong comeback. And that is March 2nd and 3rd. It's a virtual conference this year, and it's entirely free. So if you all Google Governor's Conference on Tourism in Arkansas, it'll take you to a link and you can sign up, and I would encourage you all to do so. And I will stop there and just save time for questions later. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Hurst. Did want to open it up for questions. If anybody has a question, feel free to unmute yourself, reveal yourself. You can ask your question live, or you can use the chat feature down at the bottom. Feel free to do that. And we'll be checking the comments and questions too. If a question does come up, you can do that as well.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Mimi.
Secretary Hurst, talk a little bit more about Main Street, Arkansas.
Main Street is one of my favorite programs. We have 22 Main Street programs across the state of Arkansas, and they are the perfect combination of historic preservation, community revitalization, and economic development. It utilizes the concept that we will utilize the historic resources of an area, tap volunteer energy, and create gathering places with a sense of place that people want to not just, they don't want to just live there, but they want to visit and make use of businesses and coffee shops all in the Main Street corridor. So we've had great success in Arkansas. We have a very strong program, and the economic impact every year we've realized is substantial, tens of millions of dollars, and lots of jobs created. Plus, we're able to keep these historic corridors and towns across the state of Arkansas alive and well. So it's a really great program. It's a partnership between Arkansas Historic Preservation Program and the Arkansas Economic Development Commission.
Thank you.
Hi, Madam Secretary. How are you doing?
Good.
My name is Richard Adams. Good, thank you. My name is Richard Adams. I run a company called Pay Your Tuition. We were part of the Venture Center a couple of years ago, run by FIS, and we were encouraged to sit our global headquarters in Little Rock, Arkansas when we were ready years ago. We're looking forward to maybe doing that. Of course, plans got pushed back for 2020, but I'm looking to maybe visit the state again in 2021. So I know, how are things evolving there in the face of COVID? And then the second part of the question would be, I was so lucky to attend bench, something added to the historical parks area in Arkansas by Signal High School for Elizabeth. So I want to know what are the plans of off, downtown, and that particular, if you know anything about that new addition there and what's going on there, would that be a good place to think about, opening up a small office in the future, in the near future?
So the connection was a little slow. I'm not sure I understood your questions, but I think your first one was related to COVID and how how we're faring as it regards the COVID-19 virus. Is that true? Yes. So we were just on a call this morning and with Secretary Romero, who is over the Department of Health, and Arkansas is faring very well. Our rate of transmission of the virus is below 10%. We were in the top 10 in terms of rate of vaccination amongst our residents. The snow that has hit Arkansas this week has slowed down vaccination, but we anticipate picking back up and putting it back in high gear as soon as the snow melts, which should be by Monday. So we are well positioned. We're doing very well in Arkansas, and our governor has been very committed to keeping the economy open as much as we can in a safe way. And so our businesses and our economy has fared very well as well. Oh, your second question had to do with Central High, correct? And the Central High Historic District? Yes. It is a excellent place to consider. If I understand that you are potentially considering about locating a business there. I was just working with a bank actually who is looking for a branch in the Central High Historic District area. And so there are lots of opportunities, and it's a great place for you all to consider. Let me know if I can help.
So, and then on the marketing of your brand, what kind of goes with the different elements of marketing and what you should be doing?
Thanks, Richard, for the question. And I just wanted to bring this up. I know a few months ago, we actually had the chief economist or state economist of Arkansas, Michael Packo, to talk about, the effects of COVID and things that were going on within the state. And he made an interesting point in that with where tourism is concerned, they've actually seen an uptick in smaller, maybe more rural parts of the state. We talked about camping, kayaking, that kind of thing, where they're seeing less people travel to the high density areas of the state and more to get away. Can you speak to that and what that means for the future of tourism in Arkansas?
Yeah, for forever, as long as there's been a tourism industry, I suppose, much of the 2% tax, which is how we measure success, is driven by the urban areas because of conventions and business travel. Business travel, of course, benefits restaurants in the area, but also tourist attractions in the area. So, but during the COVID pandemic, we have seen that reversed, and people are flocking to the less populated, less urban areas. And as you all know, in Arkansas, we have so many wonderful places to visit that are in what we might call the rural areas that have abundant access to the outdoors, abundant access to public lands, outdoor recreation. And so, yes, we have seen that shift. And in fact, we've had conversations about, why is the tourism tax so high right now, for example, in Cleburne County? And it's because, of the outdoor recreation opportunities there. So it has definitely happened. We've noticed it as well. I will say that going forward, one of the things we will continue to promote as a state is the abundant access to nature that we offer and the opportunities that we have for, hiking, mountain biking, any number. Fishing is very popular. Golf has seen much more activity than it had before prior to the pandemic. So we will continue to share that message with our abutting states and with the world that Arkansas offers great opportunity during the pandemic.
Secretary Hurst, you also mentioned something about meetings and conventions.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to people who have been kind of apprehensive in going ahead and booking their meetings and conventions because they just don't know or, just not comfortable booking it yet?
Mm-hmm. Well, we have protocols in place, of course, for safety, and we'll continue to enforce those. It really is just there's a reluctance on the part of the convention industry to engage in-person conventions on a large scale. And I think that's just going to take time. It's going to take people becoming more comfortable that they can schedule a convention and it won't have to be canceled. And I think it'll come because I think people will want to get together again. Some people suggest that we're just going to do everything over Zoom, and I disagree. I think people are eager to be together again and to see each other. And so I think we'll have a resurrection. It'll just take some time for everyone to get comfortable.
There's a question in the chat. This person wants to know if the department provides training or resources for someone that has an interest in becoming a tourism agent.
That is a great question. And actually, we are developing a program, an educational component where we can share it across the state of Arkansas to prepare people who are interested in the travel industry. And because it's very important to be a good ambassador for your state or your city or your community. Just spreading the word about all of the great things we have here is hugely beneficial. So we are working on that internally within Arkansas Tourism, but I will say the hospitality industry works on the Hospitality Association led by Monty McNulty, they have programs as well for training in the hospitality industry.
Thanks for that question and all the questions that have come in. We'll be sure, like I said, to keep checking the chat and saving room at the end. But I do want to go ahead and move on to Samuel. Thank you so much, Secretary Hurst, for all that information. Want to turn it to Samuel so he can talk to us about his business. You know, how did the idea come about? How did you start it? What did you face? Failures, successes, everything in between. So I'll turn it over to you, Samuel, and you can talk about your entrepreneurial journey in starting the Rocktown River Outfitters.
Well, thank you. And yes, there was a little bit of all of that in what seems like a very short time. I've got a couple of slides here that I will see if I can share my screen that you would be able to see it too. So tell me if that is what you guys are seeing right now.
Yep.
All right. Is that everything there?
That's it. We see it.
Okay. So again, I'm Samuel Ellis out of Rocktown River Outfitters. And I grew up in Little Rock, or grew up in Arkansas, doing a lot of the things that Secretary Hurst was actually mentioning. Kayaking and canoeing, the Buffalo River, the Spring River. Anytime I could get a group of friends to go out, we would really just go out and kind of spend some time in the woods. So you can see that I grew up just playing on the river, even before I realized what I was getting myself into with Rocktown River Outfitters. After taking some good dives there in my kayak, you can see one not even wearing a helmet back when I was young and dumb. Now I'm just dumb. It was a lot of fun, but it made me want to take things actually a little further. And so actually I took a job as a professional whitewater raft guide in Colorado on the Arkansas River. That's me and the dorky blue helmet there that I wore every day. But so when I realized how big tourism was and how much fun that the Arkansas River was creating in Buena Vista, Colorado, when I came back home, I couldn't understand why we didn't have that here in Little Rock. I know we don't have the rapids that people go for whitewater rafting, but the Arkansas River is just a beautiful natural resource in our own backyard. And from what I knew, nobody was really utilizing it, and a lot of people didn't know much about it. And I realized it's because a lot of people were uneducated on what they thought was in the river. And of course, that has been the biggest part of what we're trying to do is educate people. Everybody thinks there's river monsters, and the big undertow will get you. Now, I grew up with my parents telling me that too, and so I stayed away from the river thinking it was dangerous. And then coming back as a professional whitewater raft guy, I started to wonder why was I told that? And I realized it's a lot of because when our parents or the early generation before Murray Lock and Dam, the river was very dangerous and uncontrollable. Since they put in Murray Lock and Dam, we can actually navigate the river a lot easier and know what the flows are going to be, which actually makes it just a big lake here in between the dams, which is right here behind the downtown area. Getting to float in this area where you guys look down off of the interstate bridge and look down at the water, we just don't think about it much anymore because either we're not wanting to get on it or we're just so used to driving over it we don't even look anymore. But now with the Murray Lock and Dam, we can actually look at the flow release, and I can check daily to make sure that the river's safe, and we can take tours if we want to, or we can get people in the water, or if it is not safe, we do have a flood season here. All this water comes from Leadville, Colorado, up in the Rocky Mountains. But when we can look at this information daily, it makes it really easy to know when it's safe to be out. And so when it's safe to be out, we want to have a little fun. I wanted people to realize how beautiful the Arkansas River is, how safe it can be. And so with Rocktown, we've definitely had a little bit of fun of making that happen. And so when I realized it was the fact that people were educated, I thought we should educate them and try and make being on the Arkansas River more accessible. So we actually opened Rocktown River Outfitters out of Rockwater Marina back in 2017. I had 3 kayaks. I spent my life savings on buying 3 kayaks. Got the insurance and a business license, and I started taking 3 guests out on the weekends and my evenings for a sunset kayak tour or just a day kayak tour through the Arkansas River. That definitely got to the point where we needed more kayaks, and we actually grew um, pretty quickly even that first year, just because people were realizing this is in their backyard and it's really available and it's easy to access. And now that we've got kayaks that you can rent affordably, you can see this view of Little Rock, which you probably have never seen before. And that's really gained a lot of attention and just the beauty of the city from the Arkansas River. So taking people out on tours, our sunset tours were really popular because we would actually float through downtown on the Arkansas River at night while the bridges are lighting up. And so we would have special lights, LED life jackets, and special lights on the boats so that we were all lit up as well. But if you've never seen the bridges light up from a duck's eye view, if you will, you don't know what you're missing. It's just a really beautiful, beautiful thing to see that from that side of the water, and then also just seeing things that you may not have seen from that angle as well. I mean, floating through and seeing the USS Razorback has been one of the things that people really enjoyed seeing, and just getting out there and taking pictures. I mean, to have Junction Bridge in the background, to have the river market in the background, it's just a really beautiful thing that you think of Chattanooga, Tennessee, you think of Portland, Oregon, or these really well-known outdoorsy towns that people seem to flock to if they're big into kayaking or mountain biking. And a lot of people don't realize that's Little Rock as well. And so that's one of the things I really wanted to do to make a mission, was just to show how beautiful and outdoorsy this area is, and it's literally our backyard. So that first year, we took just a good group of people out throughout the year, and I thought I had it figured out. I was just going to be running kayaks, and we survived the first year. But that winter, I found out that the only bike rental shop in town was going to be leaving and going back to where they originated, and they called me, and I just found out that I was going to be involved if I wanted to be, and it scared me very much so at the time, because I just got kayaking figured out and how to run a business and get people interested. So running a whole kayaking or a bicycle side would be a whole new direction. But we actually did. We took it over. I just, being the outfitter, I thought, it was my responsibility to make sure that we didn't lose bike rentals here in Little Rock. So we went from just a kayak shop to a bike shop, and it is a whole nother scene on the other side of the river here in the river market. If you've ever been to our location downtown, we were able to do bike rentals and of course our bike tours, and to kind of make this spot unique. The funny thing is, if you were to ask more about problems along the way, 2018 is when we took over the bike shop, and then that's also the same year I call the Lime scooter epidemic. So it was kind of a really interesting time to take over a bicycle rental company when something as popular as Lime scooters come in. But we survived it. We still got a lot of bikes out. We still do bike rentals and bike tours. And that was the other thing, was it being guided tours. We got to take people on Sunday bike and brunch tours or historic tours of downtown. And we got to work with a lot of other businesses and companies, because we were literally bringing tourism to them, places that you may not have seen on your own or found out on your own. We were offering guided tours for this. When we got the bicycles all taken care of, and we got a good plan for how to lead that program here in Little Rock, I still had my eye on this other location at the Little Maumelle River. And we actually just opened up a location at this boathouse here at Two Rivers Bridge, River Mountain Road, on the Little Maumelle River. And this has been the biggest joy in what we're doing, because this is what's taken people from being scared of the big scary Arkansas River to feeling much more safe and much less timid to hop on something called the Little Maumelle River. We've been able to get people out easily, get them and let them kind of figure out what kayaking is, if it was something that was scary to them at first. And then the biggest problem I have is getting them back to the dock and off the water. Everybody just enjoys it and stays out on the river because it's kind of like getting out of town, but your car is still parked in one of the busiest parks, here in Little Rock, as you just get out and get to see the nature. And so that was a really beautiful spot to have our own dock down there, where we started doing kayak rentals both at Rockwater Marina and at the Little Maumelle River. And of course, as problems go, not only when we had the bikes and the Lime scooters came in, when I opened this location, we had a 100-year flood, which is not great for a river company trying to get people to feel safe on the water. But luckily, this location made it so that while the Arkansas River was still high in flood stage, the Little Maumelle River really stayed calm and floatable for most of the season. So we really lucked out in opening this, or we would have been out of business for pretty much the entire year. But this location's made it great for people to get out. You can come see the Two Rivers Bridge. You can actually paddle up the Little Maumelle River, which is more like a lake. So people really feel comfortable in doing that. And again, we just still offer our sunset tours down there, because it's just it's the same activity, but it's two very different surroundings. Our downtown tours, you feel like you're paddling through the heart of the city. You're going underneath all the bridges. You can hear the traffic. You can hear the city come to life. And when you're paddling on the Little Maumelle River, you literally start almost underneath the 430 interstate. But in just a few minutes of paddling, you won't see a single building. You won't hear traffic. You will hear the dinging of bike bells and children laughing and running on the trail. So we see a lot of wildlife as well out there. So when I started Rocktown, I didn't know what it was going to become, or at least if I did, I was wrong. And over the couple of years since we've started this, not only has the idea grown, but our team's grown. Running 3 locations, we do have quite a good staff that helps us keep everybody safe and having fun, getting to do these activities, and then going into not just kayaking, but also bicycles, and making sure that it's not just a rental where you show up and there's a bike out front, but we also want to make sure we do the guided tours, because we will take people to places they may not have known about or may not have seen on their own. So Rocktown's been a great way to get people outside and to show off how beautiful and how lucky we are here in Little Rock and North Little Rock and Arkansas in general. So those are just a couple of my main points I wanted to talk about. If you'll have any questions, I'd love to answer anything. I could tell stories for days if I had to, but I'm just excited to tell you guys what we're doing.
Thanks for sharing that, Samuel. It's always interesting to hear an entrepreneurial's story, how the idea came about. And one common thread, working with entrepreneurs for nearly 5 years now, there's a common thread in all of the stories. When someone decides to become an entrepreneur, there's passion, there's a little bit of knowledge about what you're trying to solve, and then the problem. And clearly that's what happened here. You had some expertise in whitewater rafting and waterways. You were passionate about that sort of thing, and then you realized that there was an opportunity here in Arkansas to share that with others. So congratulations on taking the leap and doing that. Do want to open it up for questions in the chat. I think we've had a couple come through. One question is, do you offer corporate group events?
We do. That's something that we've just started doing this last year. Like I said, I started this with 3 kayaks, and unless you just had 3 people that work with you, it was really tough to do when I first started out. But we actually take larger groups now. We've taken up to 15 to 20 people. We don't want to make it too big, one, for safety reasons, because we want to have more guides on the river, but it's been a great way to get people out for like staff appreciation, or a way to just kind of get a group out for your staff on an event. So we do take larger groups out for corporate events as well. And if you would like to learn more about that, feel free to reach out to me, and I can give you all the details.
Awesome. Another question, did you have to take on partners to expand your business? For example, when you took over the bike rental company?
I did not. I really was raised to make sure that everything that you do needs to be organic, and I kept my day job for the entire time I started Rocktown. So all the money we made off those first 3 kayaks went to buying a 4th kayak and then a 5th kayak. And at the end of that year, it led us to where I could take over the bike company, and I've just continued to reinvest everything back into this company, which is why it's grown, and why I'm able to kind of reach out and do some of the bigger ideas that I've wanted to do here in Little Rock, is because I just keep reinvesting in my baby. Keep reinvesting in Little Rock Outdoors.
And then another question asked for you to speak a little bit about licensing. Did you face any hurdles when it came to acquiring licenses and that sort of thing?
A lot of that came out to just me having the license or the certifications as professional whitewater raft guide, which is a little over what we would need here in Little Rock for the water, but just the safety, first aid, and then of course getting the business license and making sure that because I'd never run a business before. I just wanted to take people kayaking. I had to learn how to do everything else as I went. But yes, I've had to kind of go with each certification or license that I've had to get as I went.
Someone wanted you to talk a little bit more about the scooters. When you learned about the Lime scooters coming to Little Rock, what were your thoughts around that, and what did you do within that business to stay afloat?
Well, it's funny because I like the scooters. I had seen them in other cities before I really took over the bike company. I was worried about it because I thought either the Lime scooters or bike share would be coming, and so I actually called around a bunch of other bike shops in Austin, Texas, and Chattanooga, and said, "Hey, if you have a problem now that these Lime scooters and things like these are coming in, has this affected your business?" Because I'm about to buy into a bicycle business, and I realized that it's 2 different types of people that are wanting to go versus on the scooter versus a bike rental. Your scooters are more just for fun and riding up and down the street and maybe zipping to and from work or for lunch. They're for short distances. But the bike rentals, were able to not only rent them out for longer times for the whole bike trail. I've had people come and tell me they rented a scooter, or they hopped on a scooter and they had to do 4 of them because it would die along the way. But the bikes really make it easier to get out on the trail and see more, as well as we're able to take kids. We have kids trailers, kids bikes. We're able to not just take one person out, we're able to take the whole family out. So it's 2 different markets, and the scooters are great for what they're here for. But we're going to be taking people out on the bike trail.
Do you need to have any experience with a kayak before you make the jump?
I would say no. I take more first-time kayakers than anything. The boats we use are sit on top, and we of course wear life jackets. The boats being sit on top, making them extra sturdy and easy to maneuver and paddle. I feel like every time I get a group of people, there's always one that's really excited to go because they've wanted to try kayaking, and they always drag their friend that's terrified and doesn't understand why they got brought here for this. And for that person that's always scared, I always like to watch them as they start realizing that they're in control, they have fun, and how much they're loving it, because that's usually the person I have the hardest time getting off the water. They realize they learned something new and how easy it is to do here in Little Rock and how close it is. And new kayakers are definitely something that we enjoy. And paddle boards too. We do kayaking and paddle boards, as well as fishing kayaks now. So we have a couple of fishing kayaks that you can take out that are stable enough to even stand in, and spend a longer time on the water that's more comfortable.
Gotcha. Here's another question. Are you going to get more involved in mountain bike tours with the new trail system in Little Rock, or just increase mountain bike rentals?
We are at our Two Rivers Bridge location, River Mountain Road. There, they have increased, or they put in the new trails at Pinnacle Mountain, which we're so excited that are out there. They've been fantastic, and if you haven't gotten to go ride them, please do. And then, of course, there is the new trails going in literally behind our boathouse at River Mountain Road. And so we increased our bike rentals, or increased our bikes that we have coming in for the spring. We used to only offer kind of a base mountain biking bike, but now we have a full suspension bike. We'll have electric mountain bikes, which I thought that was cheating, but actually they're really fantastic. And so we will be growing our bike industry there at Two Rivers Bridge. One of the problems that we had with Corona, with COVID, was it shut our bike shop down. Our River Market location has been closed since everything hit. And so I moved all of our bikes to the boathouse at River Mountain Road. And luckily it turned into a blessing, because we found out that so many people here locally know that park, and it's really easy to come to, and you also have more access to more varieties of trails than you do in just downtown. So the River Market location is fantastic, and we're excited to get back in there again when we can start having more tourism. But the mountain biking trails, and then just the Arkansas River trails coming out of River Mountain Park, are fantastic, and we're just excited to be there for all the locals that want to come out and ride, and try something new. People that want to get into mountain biking but don't want to spend the thousands of dollars on a new mountain bike. We want to let you come out and try it and learn it and see if it's something you want to get into.
Very cool. And since this is, focused on entrepreneurship, we always ask our entrepreneurs, what type of advice would you give an entrepreneur that's about to make the launch into entrepreneurship or thinking about it? What kind of advice would you give someone interested in that?
I would say, if you're going to do it, you got to commit. I feel like when I made the decision to start Rocktown, I definitely knew that I would do everything I could, or everything that I had to keep this crazy little dream I had going. And there's been a lot of scary things along the way, a lot of difficult things, but they all really seem small and worth it once you have your big picture, and you just know that you're trying to do a good thing and get people to do something that is fun and healthy. And so if you're going to make a leap into starting your own business or something like that, just make sure that it's something that you're committed to, because you're going to live, breathe, and sleep it.
Very great advice. And we had a couple more questions come through. We've got time, so we'll throw these out there.
Oh, please do, yeah.
Challenges. And so, did you have any with the city when it came to challenges in starting this business?
I didn't have any challenges with the city. The city's actually worked really, really well with this, because what we're doing is promoting people getting out into the parks, or people getting out into the city, and it's also creating tourism tax dollars and bringing people here. So the city's been really good to work with. I think in the beginning, I was just kind of a crazy guy with a couple of kayaks, and I wasn't really bothering anybody. But as things have grown, I've really worked with the city on a lot of projects, and of course, like the mountain bike trails, changes at Two Rivers Bridge. The city's been more than helpful. I think they see this as a positive thing for the city of Little Rock and North Little Rock.
Absolutely. And with that, I think that answers all the questions. I'll give both Secretary Hurst and you as well, Samuel, any final comments or anything you'd like to let the audience know?
If you have any questions about the kayaking or biking, just come do it. That's the easiest way to learn about all this. Everything we do is so beginner friendly. that it's just really great to get people out and see them find their new love or find a new healthy activity that they can do to get out of the house even. So come see us. We'll put you in a kayak or a stand-up paddleboard, or put you on a mountain bike, or just one of our comfort hybrid cruisers so you can ride between the trails.
Hey, Ashley, can I ask one question?
Go ahead, Wayne.
There's a ton of stuff happening construction-wise, apartment-wise, housing-wise along the river and the waterfront. Do you, either of you have any, future look into how that's going to affect the riverfront, and if there'll be other businesses or perhaps even restaurants, things like that, or other recreational opportunities along the river as we see a lot of this new construction and new marinas, that sort of thing cropping up?
I guarantee you will. It's funny. I did an interview in 2017 when it was just me and the 3 kayaks. And in the interview, I was talking about how I think that people get out on the river more and see how beautiful it is, then people will want to start more businesses on and near the river. And it was funny because just last year they had the soft opening at the new Rock City Yacht Club marina. And you are starting to see a lot more apartments and restaurants facing the river, whereas I feel like a lot of things were facing away from the river before. But I think you're going to see a lot more attraction and traffic on the banks and on the river as well.
Thank you.
Let me just jump in, and I will encourage everyone that if you haven't seen the new mountain bike trails out at Pinnacle Mountain, I encourage you to take a look at those and try them out. You might want to wait till the snow melts a little bit, but they're fantastic and getting a lot of use. Also, if you haven't been to Rattlesnake Ridge, just west of Pinnacle Mountain, it's a natural area that we partnered with the Nature Conservancy, and it's another great place to go hike and get great views. We're also talking about looking to acquire the Blue Mountain Ridge, which is just west of Pinnacle Mountain. So the access to the great outdoors and outdoor recreation in Central Arkansas is only going to get better. Thanks for having me today.
And thank you for having me as well. I couldn't agree more, though. The mountain biking trails have been fantastic for what's going on in the outdoor world here in Little Rock. And I think it'll become more and more obvious that we are the natural state, and we are, a very outdoorsy state, and we're lucky to have all this here. So thank you for having me.
Sam, James here. Are you working, and do you see any progress in trying to get that section of the bike trail that's up on Cantor Road, kind of behind Dillard's in there? See any progress happening there?
I do know what you're talking about. I have not had any good traction with that yet, but actually I have just started kind of joining in more and getting more involved, not with just running the business and making bikes available, but I've joined a couple different groups like BACA, which is the Bicycle Advocacy of Central Arkansas, the Bike Friendly Cities Committee. I'm trying to get more involved so that I can be more helpful in the leverage that it'll take to get that done, because that is key. And it's terrible that as a Little Rock business, I tell everybody, if you want to do the river trail, go to the North Little Rock side. It's beautiful and easy to manage. I wish we could get more people. I wish we could make the trail better on the Little Rock side. Just that one little gap is pretty detrimental to people's enjoyment. When they come back, they say, well, we got lost there on that Dillard's place. I'm like, well, I'm working on that.
We need to hear that statement more out in public, that folks that are in the business are actually recommending people to go across the river. That should help move the needle. And Stacy, I appreciate you mentioning Razorback Ridge. That is awesome out there.
Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. And with that, we're going to close out today's program. Thank you both to Secretary Hurst for sharing the information about the Department of Parks Heritage Tourism, as well as Samuel Ellis sharing his story and journey with his company, Rocktown River Outfitters. Thank you both for being with us. All of the questions from our attendees here on Zoom as well as Facebook. We encourage you to attend our future programs. You can find those on our website, venturecenter.co. You can follow us on Facebook and be sure to subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss any of our programs. With that, get out there, enjoy the snow while you can, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, guys.